It's Podular. Welcome back, folks. It is Friday, August 29th. Happy Sound Tribe Day. This is episode 44, and we are here getting prepped for what is about to be an epic three-night run from Sound Tribe Sector 9, starting at the Boulder Theater tonight, and 2 nights at the wonderful Dillon Amphitheater on Saturday and Sunday. So, let's get right into it. First things first, introduce my co-host, Mr. Scotty Fuller. How are you today?
I'm doing great, partner. Couldn't possibly be much better. It's Sound Tribe Week in my town, so we're getting after it this weekend. This is going to be my first time seeing the band in person since February, and
Woo!
very sad that you're not going to be out there with us. But
do not remind me, man. Good
it's
God.
okay. It's okay. Got a bunch of the homies out here, excited to kick off Boulder Theater tomorrow, and then get on up to Dillon after we drop the boy off with his grandparents for a nice little weekend away. So, got a cool announcement before we get into our guests, guys. We are getting streamed this weekend. All 3 nights, Boulder Theater, both nights of Dillon. It's all on Nugs. So if you don't have a Nugs subscription, go ahead and order one, because if you won't be able to make it out there, that's okay. They're
Hallelujah, Scotty.
Yeah, right?
From the folks who can't make it. Good.
I even get excited about those, dude. Like, I like coming back and watching them. So even if I'm there, like, let's go. That's more fun. Like,
you gotta grind the tape. You gotta grind the tape sometimes. You can't be afraid to grind the tape and watch film. That's how players get better, you know.
Of course.
But let's get into that. Guess it, man. Give us our intro.
Let's get into it, Scotty. Man, tonight we have another member of STS9 royalty amongst us. In addition to being one half of the duo Sub ID, being an extremely talented producer and sound technician who has handled the packaging and releasing of every single soundboard since 2014, he also just happens to be married to our favorite bass player, Miss Alana Rockland. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yo, we got Sub ID. We're about to fucking fuck it up for you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Welcome, Mr. Brad Bowden, to the podcast today. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Man, thank you very much for having me, boys. It's a pleasure.
Of course, man. Of course. Well, we've been dancing around this one for a while, trying to find a good time that worked, and here we are. So thank you.
Here we are.
We are so honored to have you, and we're just excited to dive into some stuff. So
first and foremost, I just want to say, like, let's be honest. How many times did you guys ask me to come on? Let's keep it real.
I wasn't going to get into this. This might be number 5.
This is number 5, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, this isn't my kind of thing. I'm definitely somebody that likes to be in the cut.
Mm-hmm.
I like to support. I like to do my thing. I'm a man behind the curtain. Okay. And, I'm here tonight because I really respect what you guys are doing. Okay. And I'm here because what you guys do is needed. It is greatly appreciated. And, you guys are doing it for the love. And that's why I'm here. Right. So we're here standing on the same ground. All right. And I just wanted to say that because a lot of the greatest projects that I've produced or products that I've produced, I've been turned down, and then I've been turned down again and again and again. But when I have my eyes on a vision or, I see something I want, I go after it, with good intention. And that's what it takes to make things happen creatively. That's what it takes to make great things happen in the world. That's what you boys did. So that's why I'm fucking here right now.
Oh, man, you didn't have to start off like that. That was so special, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Enough about us.
Yeah,
honestly.
Enough about you too. Enough about you too.
And before we get into you, Brad, I want to get into this weekend because we got a call from you a handful of days ago, right after you'd seen the set list.
Yes, sir.
And you looked visibly shook, as Scotty says.
This
seems like we're gearing up for a special weekend.
Shook
huh?
isn't the word. I was beyond stoked. Like this
Okay.
is the
Yeah.
kind of, it's kind of like being a surfer, right? And you look at the sets coming in, and then you plan accordingly. You know what you're about to get. You know how it's going to break, and that's what it is. Um I just saw this sort of arc to the whole weekend, and especially how they're coming out. Uh, in Boulder. I mean, the Boulder show is about to be probably the greatest Boulder show of all time. First of all,
Those
yeah,
are big words. Let's go.
well,
Yeah.
fuck what you heard. Like that's what I said.
What you hearing?
This is what's about to go down. And from song number one, I think all the real heads are gonna know like how it's gonna go down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and we'll get into some predictions later here, Scotty. But you've had some really great ways to explain the sound of STS9 throughout the years. We've heard Cosmic Slop, we've heard Gary Faced, we've heard Slinky Jam and all that stuff. If without giving anything away, what's the vibe that if you could put like 2 or 3 words together, what's the vibe we're looking at for this weekend?
I'm just gonna say relentless.
Hell
I'm gonna
yeah.
say relentless, and I'm gonna say like just the slickest transitions. So that's what I'm talking about.
So that's what we show up for, man.
That's what gets me excited.
Relentless STS9.
Yes.
Chip on
Yes.
your
Yeah.
shoulder STS9.
And
Love it.
and these are the first Colorado shows in over a year. When's the last time that's happened? When's the last time STS9's gone more than a year playing in Colorado? So this shit is about to be special. First Boulder Theater show since 2015. I was lucky enough to be there. For anybody that's about to see their first STS9 show at the Boulder Theater, it's about to go down. That is a bucket list venue to see this band. So couldn't be more excited for everybody that's going, and I'll be watching for sure. But yeah, Brad, let's get into you, my man. First things first, trying to give us a little background of where everything started. Where did you grow up? What kind of music filled your world early on? Kind of all that jazz.
Well, let's see here. I was born and raised in Kalihi on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. I lived there for the first 13 years of my life. Um, I moved to Northern Virginia my 8th grade year. And at that point in time, I played the trumpet. Trumpet was one of these things that, my mom wanted me to play the trumpet, so I played the trumpet. And I was absolutely just terrible at it, and completely just I was last chair in the 3rd band in high school. Okay, literally, right? And
Be careful what you put at 3rd chair in high school, honestly.
well, it's just, yeah, it was one of those things that it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was living with my grandparents, and my grandfather, who is just such a special human being, he had tickets to the National Symphony Orchestra. He had subscription season tickets, and so he was always going to the symphony, like all the time. He was a bassoonist, he was a clarinetist. He was also a quarterback. He was also an admiral in the Coast Guard. He was the first quarterback to ever lead the Coast Guard Academy to an undefeated season.
Wow.
He was a 3-star admiral. Just an amazing human being, and I was fortunate enough to live with him, and to he started taking me to concerts. I think it was something where maybe my grandmother would fall asleep in the orchestra hall, and he just knew. So he would take me, and there was one particular night, National Symphony Orchestra was performing. Let's see, it was Mstislav Rostropovich was conducting. I believe it was him, yeah. And they played the Franck Symphony in D minor.
Wow.
And there was something about it that just blew me away. Like it was just an awakening, you know, like a complete and utter revelation. And the tuba player, Dave Burgunier, he just lit me up in this way that like I was like, what the fuck's going
tuba
on?
player.
The tuba player.
Yeah. The low end. Yeah.
The low end. Yes, sir.
Makes sense.
And so I was just so inspired and so motivated that I couldn't sleep that night. And I literally went into school, you know, not having slept, listening to the piece all night.
Wow.
And I went to my band director and I said, you know what, I want to play the tuba. And you know, the tuba is one of those instruments where any decent band program is always looking for 2 or 3 more of those. Okay.
Yeah.
And he, you know, this was a pivotal moment because my band director in high school, his name was Jeffrey Fraker. He was a trombonist and he just had a passion for conducting and teaching. However, he came from playing in Buddy Rich's big band. Okay, he was second trombonist in the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra.
Wow.
And he was a world-class brass musician. I mean, just on another level. He played trombone on a lot of the early Tom and Jerry cartoons. A lot of that early stuff was him. And when I came in and said, you know what, I need to play the tuba, he didn't even question me. He said, you know what, if you're serious about this, I'm going to pay for your lessons and I'm going to get you with a real teacher.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
you know, that's how I started. All right. That was where it really all began for me. Okay. And it was such a generous thing at the time that now here I am at 49 years old. It's one of the things that I'm the most thankful for in my life, right? The generosity of that band director. And he said, as long as you do this, as long as you practice, and I see this improvement, and I'm going to talk to your teacher, I'm going to keep this going. And so that was the first year of me playing the tuba. I was obsessed with it. I practiced 5-6 hours a day. And, you know, I went from being last chair trumpet player to playing tuba in the American Youth Symphony Orchestra, right? Like
oh my gosh, man, this story's so good.
Went from just being terrible at it to now studying and taking lessons. I moved from that first teacher to studying with Dave Burgunier in the National Symphony Orchestra, and you know, was just on a path and was obsessed with classical music. So classical music is my first true love. Shostakovich and Mahler and Franck and Bruckner and Ravel and Debussy, you know, that's the shit I put on when I want to vibe. So, you know, that was my sort of like introduction. From there, I went to places like Tanglewood, and I eventually ended up deciding on going to DePaul University in Chicago because I really wanted to study with the tuba player in the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. So I went there and really just cut my teeth on the instrument, and got to a point where I was just, you know, I was practicing so hard and I was holding on to it, right? Like so tightly that I really burned myself out. And I got to a place where if, you know, the tuba wasn't quote unquote invented until 1863, supposedly, right? Now, by that point in time, you're talking
Did
about,
not know that.
Yeah, you're talking about cats like Bach and Mozart and all these other core composers, Beethoven, that they've been dead for
Yeah.
years. And most of what the tuba plays and the role in the orchestra is in the second half of the program, right? And you might wait for three movements, and then you get some action in the fourth movement. And for me, that just, I needed more than that. I wanted more than that. And at the same time, I started becoming, aware of a lot of electronic music and more experimental music just living in Chicago. So I started to explore that. And one thing led to another. I went back to school for audio engineering and,
Okay.
just kind of learned that and learned the ins and outs of that. From there, I started to assist in a couple different studios in Chicago. And one thing that was clear to me, a lot of the most creative people that were coming in, they weren't the rock guys, right? I'm not going to mention any names, but like I have assisted for some serious Chicago legendary rock artists. But those guys were never as inspiring as these dance guys and these hip hop guys that would come in and they bring an MPC in with them.
Mhm.
They bring in an Akai MPC. And that was this instrument and this platform and this way of connecting many different synthesizers and many different pieces of gear into one hub. And that's, the MPC, the Akai MPC, and the EMU SP1200. That was where dance music, that was where hip hop was born, from those machines, right? That was, those two machines were the heartbeat of hip hop and electronic music, and turntables were the soul of it. So those were things that those were the tools of creation that I was just, became obsessed with. And so I bought an Akai MPC. I went out and bought that instrument and started using it in really unconventional ways. I was somebody that was taking it into bands that were playing jazz, we're jamming, we're doing these different things. And I was just trying to express myself, and just like push the boundaries of how music was being made. Like, let's be honest, right? So that's how I came to the MPC. That's the instrument that I've been creating with. That's the instrument that all these people, companies, STS9 became aware of me as, being this guy that was using this thing. One
Oh,
sec.
here we go. We'll get a little peek at the gear.
You just answered our first 4 questions seamlessly. Like,
Well,
you knew what we were
that's
gonna ask.
that's how it goes. So yeah, MPC,
Ooh,
Oh
that
yeah.
was
right?
great.
A little Supreme
A
skin on there.
Supreme MPC. You're the fucking man, Brad.
The pads. So this is a sampler and a sequencer. You load all your own sounds up into it. You play MIDI into it. You capture into it. You render out of it. It's just, yeah, it's like a modern age guitar or something, right?
Very, very versatile, right? That's why
Extremely versatile.
I like to call you the MIDI mobster. How much has that piece of equipment changed from when you first started using it to now? Has there been a whole lot of change with it, or is it still pretty much the same?
There's been a tremendous amount of change. So the first time we played Red Rocks with STS9, okay, I was on a Akai MPC 2000, and at the time there was 32 megabytes of memory, okay? And I don't think most people really realize how limited that is. That's like saying you get a steak and a carrot, go produce a 5-course meal. right? Like it really is like that. So it went from being extremely limited to being what it is now, where it has plugins, it has all these synthesizers and gigabytes upon gigabytes. There's basically no limitation. So the evolution of the instrument has it's definitely come up over the past 10 years, I'll say.
Oh yeah.
So cool. So so you get through all that. You learn the MPC. Become very familiar, and you start being known for that. Um, uh, where does Alana come in on this whole story?
Okay, so Alana comes into this. Let's see here. At the time, Alana was going to University of Michigan, and
And
I
did
had a
you
bunch.
guys have a relationship previously? Had you met yet?
No, no, we didn't. So she was, yeah, she was going to school up there. I was dating a girl that was going to school there as well, and so I would go up there and visit my ex, and Alana was one of the many just really cool, talented kids that I met up in Ann Arbor. That
Mhm.
I really just could relate to and had a good time with. And so we were friends for, I mean, many years before we started dating. And it was just one of those things where, um, yeah, we were really close friends. And I'll tell you sort of a pivotal moment in our relationship.
Please.
We were hanging out and, I was a real music snob. I still am, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm a
for
lot
sure.
nicer of a I'm a lot nicer of a human being, but I used to be a serious prick music snob. And if it wasn't just high shelf jazz or top-notch classical music, I wasn't fucking with it.
Yeah, not this isn't a note to you being a snob, but I mean, you sent when I think at one point right before I had Jay, I made a post like, "Hey, send me music that you grew up on or that you think I should put Jay on too," and all you sent me was classical music. So I didn't know the
Well, I want
background.
the kid to come up right, man.
Of course, and I played it for him, and he loves it. I mean, we that's bedtime music for us. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah,
You're
no, but
raising another music prick, right?
That's right, man.
All
That's
good,
right,
guys.
man.
I didn't mean to cut you off though. Go ahead.
No, no. I mean, that's really what it is, though. Like that's really how it is. And I was perusing her music collection, and she had a Bela Fleck and the Flecktones
Mhm.
CD,
Hmm.
and I said, okay, hold on a second. Like, okay, she really knows what's going on, and it was funny because yeah, we discovered how much each other loved the Flecktones, and at the time you just had to be such a music nerd to get into them, right? Like it was so over the top, like real heavy music, and accessible but heavy. And
Mhm.
so we really bonded over them, and consequently to get to uh, be supported by them,
Yeah.
to get to I've had the pleasure of getting to engineer for Victor Wooten on some of his albums. I've had the honor of overseeing the creation of Future Man's drum sounds, so that when he's playing that crazy instrument, those are
Mhm.
sounds that I produced, right? that
Oh
was
yeah.
that was one of the greatest honors, right? So, and even to have credits on some of their albums, to get a call randomly one morning, hey, it's Bela, or hey, it's Richard, come on over to the house, help us set up some MIDI, help us, do some work here, has always just been such an honor and full circle moments. And it truly seems that Alana and I have had so many of those together, right? Because we share a common, language and love of music and appreciation of it and what it takes to create it and to be good at it, to be successful at it. So yeah, like that's kind of how we started to date was through music. Specifically, it was through some Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. And at the time when we started dating, she was playing in this really cool band called Machina, and they were an Ann Arbor band. And I got to do live sound for them and work with them in the studio until they eventually broke up. But that was when we like officially started working together on music, in context. From there, they broke up, and she was looking for something new to do. And I was like starting to get my shit together on the MPC. And so we formed a band called the All Rectangle.
Okay.
Okay. And that was a group that it was kind of like Tortoise. It was kind of like a lot of the music that you would hear coming out of Thrill Jockey or coming out of Delmark Records at the time. It was kind of jammy, but it really wasn't anything like you couldn't just pigeonhole what it was. Mm-hmm. And we were a trio. We were playing with an extremely talented drummer by the name of Derek Crawford. And so it was drums, it was me on the MPC and keyboards, and it was Alana playing bass. And we would invite frontline guys. We would invite guitarists. We'd invite saxophonists. That's how we first played with Fareed Hawk. Yeah, so we were just playing with a bunch of different people that we admired in Chicago. We were playing with we got to play with Ari Brown. I need everybody to look him up. I need everybody to look up Fareed Hawk. I need everybody to definitely look up Mark Kirschenmann. Mark Kirschenmann was a pioneering electronic trumpet player.
Is he the one, he played with them in Detroit, didn't he? He did a Black
Sabbath
with them. Yeah.
Yes, he did. Mm-hmm. Yes, he did. Good for you, man. that was quite a hectic day. He almost didn't make that, but that was
I almost didn't either. That's a different story.
That was a great sit-in.
Yeah,
really good shit.
This has been one of my favorite side effects of this podcast, is that every guest that we get like you just comes on here and name drops all of these legends, and hopefully a lot of these people are getting discovered through our listeners, because this is just a wealth of people to go back to and dig in. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably like them. So what so that's
so check this out. Check this out.
Yeah.
So we had this band, the All Rectangle. And we made a CD. And it kind of just people started hearing it and checking it out, and it was mostly musicians that were checking it out that were really like, whoa, these guys are on some other shit here. Like, what is this right here? It sounds like Late Miles, but it also sounds like Fish. It sounds
what year is this?
This is like 2000, 2001.
Wow.
Okay. So we created this the CD, and one of Derek's friends, it's a guy by the name of Patrick Boyer. He was friends, or he had a friend that was homies with Jeffrey. Okay, he was a Michigan guy.
Okay,
and so he passed that CD along to Jeffrey. And, from what I gathered, Hunter and Jeffrey and a bunch of the other guys just kind of, they fucked with it. They really liked it. So we randomly got hit up, and they said, hey, listen, you guys are a Chicago band. we're coming through. We're going to be playing at Logan Square Auditorium. Would you like to open up for us? And we were just like, yeah, fuck yeah, like absolutely. And so that was like sort of the first musical connection that was made, was us opening up for them back in, I think it was 2000 or 2001. It was like the first time they played Chicago, right? Um, and we were just, we just had so much respect for what they were doing and how they were doing it and how they were pushing early technology. They were the first band that I ever saw that had computers up on stage. Okay. Shout out Reason, right? By Propellerheads. They were running Reason up on stage, which that's at the time, computers weren't what they are right now. So that was just an extremely ballsy feat and something to do. And it was right in line with what I was doing on the MPC. And so we just, we hit it off. Like, I don't know what to say. And we kept in contact. And it was something where they just gave us more shows, randomly. And so that is how we met them. That's when we first met them. And that was the beginning of the musical family that we have now.
Right. And that was billed as Sub ID, not All Rectangle, right? So did
That
Sub ID.
was no, that was still the All Rectangle.
Okay.
Oh, so the first time you opened up for the band, it was as Alt Rectangle, not as Sub ID.
Okay. I always thought it was Sub ID.
I did not know that.
Correct.
You're teaching me all kinds of stuff today. So obviously, you guys were viewed as super ahead of your time. You listed a few of the artists that you were playing with. Who, if anyone, was kind of inspiring that experimental sound? Who were you listening to electronic music wise?
Like electronic music wise, it was the Flecktones. Okay.
Okay.
That is electronic music. What Future Man is doing in that band is electronic.
Yeah.
He's playing acoustic drums, but he's doing it in such a groundbreaking way. So at that time, it was the Flecktones first and foremost, and then right after that, it was Square Pusher.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was looking for that answer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Square Pusher. The live Square Pusher experiment, Show Leader 1. When I hear that, it kind of takes me to when I've gotten a chance to see you and Alana perform live, where she is just hopping all over that fretboard. And obviously, we're big fans of you guys as musicians, but we both think one of the best part about a Sub ID show is watching the love radiate off the two of you guys if you play together. You guys cheer each other on like we do as fans. We've really never seen anything like it. Talk about what it's like to share the stage with your wife and the baddest motherfucking bass player in the world at the same time.
It is such a treat. Like it is such a gift. I mean, if I really just had to sum it up, like in the most simple way, I would say it's such a gift. It is something that we don't force it, right? It's not something that we've ever tried to like push and blow up. It really is just like this passion project. And it's just been such a phenomenal thing for us to get to make music together and share the stage and communicate non-verbally with each other up there and just vibes are always high. And it's something where the musical landscape really caught up to what we were trying to do.
Fuck yeah, it did.
There was a period of time in the early 2000s what we were doing was just like really flying over people's heads, and they didn't understand what was going on. And you know, sometimes we'd play shows and there'd be 500 people, and sometimes we'd play there'd be 5 people, and it really was all over the place. And it wasn't anything that we wanted to compromise what we were doing. And at the same time, we both started just, you know, being recognized for what we were doing as individuals. And that's the work that I was doing at the time on Sub ID, on the MPC, um, garnered attention from a couple different plugin manufacturers and developers, and I started to get into producing.
So we're gonna fast forward a little bit here. You know, so you guys are getting your own recognition. Alana is doing stuff with different bands. She's on the road with Jim James and doing that, and she gets the call from STS9 to officially join the band. What do you remember about that time from your perspective, and kind of how did it change things for your family?
Well, that period of time, let's see, that was 2014.
Yeah.
And previous to that, you know, basically starting with like Peace Blaster. Peace Blaster was the first time I started sending the band samples, drum samples.
Okay, this is cool.
Okay.
I didn't know this either.
So, and to back up just a little bit before that, there was a time that STS9 came through Nashville, and you know, Hunter came over to the house, and we're just, you know, kicking it, and he said, you know, I know you've got some shit on the hard drive, like open up the hard drives and let me hear some shit. And you know, so I played him some tracks, and he immediately turned to me and he said, you should put this out on our label. We're starting a label. I want you guys to be on it. I want you to be the first thing that we basically sign. And you know, that was, yeah, that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah.
And so from there, that just gave us a lot of impetus to like write and just create for the album. And we delivered the album in like 2005, 2006 ish. It was released in 2007, and that's how we like really became, you know, Musical Fam, was them like putting us on, them believing in us and what we were doing, right? And supporting us, taking us out on tour, right? We were doing all these shows opening up for them. And it was just Alana and I in the Dodge Magnum following their bus, driving all across the country, you know, getting it done. And so that was like, yeah, that has to be said before, you know, well, Alana joins the band, because
Of course.
that period of time, you know, really was laid the groundwork for other levels of collaboration that we started to do. Right now, fast forward, they were out, they were playing shows, and I was kind of, you know, I was working with Future Man a lot. I was helping him out a lot. We would play a little bit of music together at his house. And right at that point in time, they released Artifact. Okay. And we, yeah, I sort of worked it and got Future Man opening up some shows for them. Right. And that was the first time, that I just, yeah, really fell in love with their music in this like ultra profound way, and I remember being up in Burlington and, a couple feet of snow on the ground. And we were driving back from Burlington to Nashville, he and I together, and we put on Artifacts. They gave us the CD. I remember Hunter giving me the CD and saying, yeah, check this out. And we literally listened to it the whole way home, like 14-hour drive, like
Just on repeat.
Just on repeat, just run it. And that was, yeah, that was like a really inspiring moment, for me to have some friends and have some people in my peer group create something that I felt like was a true masterpiece, was worthy. Yeah, it's just a phenomenal album to process real time, especially against the backdrop of what 2004, 2005, 2006 was like, musically speaking. And so I went home, and that was my favorite album. I was just wearing that shit out. And they came to Nashville, and we were all backstage, and I overheard them talking about remixes, and this was some real heavy hitters. They were talking about Bill Laswell, they were talking about some fucking, just some gods of electronic music. And me with my big mouth, I just said, listen, I need stems, motherfuckers. Like I need stems. And I don't think I was on, we were on the cards for list of people that they necessarily wanted remixes from. But once I got those files, like we just, we went in and turned it back around, and the response from them was overwhelming. It was like extremely flattering. And yeah, that was kind of how, that was one of the first moments in time where they could kind of see what we were doing in context of them and what we could do in context of them. And, looking back on it, yeah, that was a pivotal moment just in our collaboration and all of that. So
yeah.
Just the
next thing you know, the first track on Artifact Perspectives is your guys' Better Day remix, right? So that's
and getting texts from them saying, look, like our first single off of this is your Better Day remix, and like it's playing all over the radio in Japan. Like they were just they were always so good to us, and just really, yeah, just like
I just can't think. I just can't help but think and smile about the full circle moment. And after hearing the context of all that, and in 2017, and playing the album in full, and her being the bass player, and you getting to mix and master the soundboards, and then these runs of Artifact shows that they're doing right now, and it's just such a cool full circle moment that you just added so much more special context to. That's absolutely amazing. So, going back, thank you for that context. By the way, I should have had a question about the Artifact remixes, and that just completely slipped my mind. So obviously, then you're off to the races with these guys. You're sending them sounds for Peace Blaster and all that. And then end of 2013 happens. Alana does the sit-in at the Tabernacle, and then shortly after, she gets the phone call. Are you guys still in Nashville at this point?
Yeah, we were still in Nashville at that point in time. Yep.
Okay. And what does that look like? I mean, original question. How did that change things for you guys as a family, and what were some of those early conversations and memories as she was gearing up to do it from your perspective?
Well, it was it was a really tough. It was a tough thing. It was kind of like a volcano in a way,
Sure.
right? Where there is destruction, and then there is new life.
Right, right. With a group of your
And
friends, and then
right
you're kind of
for
brought into the middle of it. I didn't even
listen,
think about it like that.
yeah, and I won't go into it, but I mean, I was working with all of the members of that band in the studio. Okay,
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, before she joined the band. All
mhm.
right. So it was one of those things where you're just like you're gutted first of all because musically speaking, you want to see this band keep going.
Yeah.
You know, like yeah, nobody liked the fact that Murph left the band, but he did. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of those things where you just yeah, like they were kind of they weren't ready to let go of the band. You know, maybe he was, but like they were ride or die.
Mm-hmm.
They were all in, right? And so, you know, real talk, like I got a call from Hunter and Hunter said, "Listen, dog, like I need a bass player. Can I steal your bass player?" And I said to him, you know, I said to him, "Listen, Alana is her own force of nature. You need to talk to her, not me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do not give permission. I give my blessing, you know? Like if it means that STS9 can keep going, then let's fucking run it.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And that was sort of how that was birthed. And we were in a situation where I mean, you know, you could only imagine how difficult it was for us, right? Like eh, somebody like Murph leaving, and it's not about like replacing what he was doing. It's just about finding a way to keep that music alive. Because I saw how much it meant to me. I saw how much it meant to fans. And we literally packed up all our shit and we said, look, if we're like, if this thing is going to thrive, like we've got to be out in Santa Cruz. We've got to like put our heads together. We've got to come together and we've got to go all in on this thing, you know? And by that point in time, STS9 was this much larger thing where it's about the fans and it's about the people that love it more so than it is about them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you know, they are a true collaborative entity, right? Where the sum of the whole is like greater than the individual, and the sum of the energy and the love, like STS9 music lives, it lives in the fans, it lives in the people that fucking listen to it all day,
Yeah.
that wake up in the morning and they're running boards, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
that's who it really lives in. And we just wanted to honor that, you know, we wanted to keep that going. And so we moved out to Santa Cruz and, you know, just started getting after it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that kind of happened for me, you know, I was in their studio and just kind of assessing what was going on, like from a technical
Yeah.
standpoint,
Sure.
from a gear standpoint, and the amount of latency that they were rehearsing with, and just a lot of things was like it wasn't acceptable to me, right? Like it just wasn't gonna fly, and so that's where I started to just kind of put myself out there and just say, hey, let me help get this shit together. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let me help get your best practices in the studio, you know, together. Um, and that's kind of how I started engineering for them in the studio. That's how I became a co-collaborator, and you know, it just grew from there.
Yeah.
Where we are now.
Yeah, you talk about growing from there, and it's almost like Mr. Analyst stepped in and was like, okay, here's where we can get things better. And I think, I mean, you talked about hitting the ground running, right? They go on this huge circuit of summer festivals right off the bat with Alana. They announce a huge 30 plus city fall tour. And you talk about the different kinds of collaborations for yourself. And then that first time they go back to Nashville, right? We start to see you being a little bit more involved into the live setting. So that's where we're going to get to our first clip here. This is one of my
Okay.
favorite pieces of music from one of my favorite shows in 2014. So let's take a listen here. Let's go, Hunter.
So I've always been really curious about how this one came together because you guys had played Sub ID opening for STS9 probably dozens of times up to this point. Um, uh, did you ever envision these two projects or kind of coming together like this, where you're on stage chopping it up with them? How did this move happen? Because you said at the beginning you prefer to be in the cut a little bit, to kind of be behind the scenes, and that's what you are with this band at this point. How does Brad coming up on stage and doing this even come together?
Well, it's just one of those things. Like if people ask you to be on stage and you respect who they are musically, then guess what? It's time to go up on stage, boys.
Hell
And
yeah.
that's all it was, is I think at the time it was either Hunter or it was Jeffrey, just somebody saying like, yeah, like, yeah, you live in Nashville. Why don't you sit in tonight? Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was just that simple. It wasn't like a grand thing. Luckily, I had an instrument with me where I could do some programming, throw some shit together, and um, funny thing about that sit-in. So that this mask right here, right,
Mm-hmm.
the Imperial Trooper, um, that year they kind of they kind of did have a Star Wars like theme going on a little bit, if you guys remember.
Right. Marine
Yeah,
was
Maureen
dressed
was
up like
Leia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was wearing that helmet, right? And that thing's really not meant to be worn up on stage. So I almost fucking passed out. Like,
You were
'cause
wearing that helmet during
I
the
was
sit-in?
wearing that helmet during that sit-in that you just listened. And so I came out on stage fucking
Fucking-
rocking an Electron Octatrack, wearing the official Imperial Stormtrooper helmet, having
Well, that shit
having a
that
great
shit
time.
is, yeah. It comes through sonically, man. That like that. So many cool moments happen in that first year with Alana and the band, where it's just like shit you were not hearing simply not 9 months ago, right? Like it was so new and so fresh, and it's so cool to hear that like part of that perspective is like, yeah, you getting into the studio and being like, hey, how do we streamline this and just make it easier for you guys to be yourselves, right? And that's really really dope. And then we get into the second clip here as well. We want to get into TUI with you as well here. But before that, 2015, obviously a huge year with the band. And I thought this was a really cool little piece of the time capsule as well here. No helmet tonight.
No, no.
Got it.
Man, that pound for pound is still one of my favorite New Year's runs, and I think that is maybe one of the best closers of any run that I've ever seen. That January 3rd, 2015 is phenomenal, and that was my first time seeing you play live, and man, I was sold. I could take one of those every single show.
You're like, who the
Yep.
fuck is this guy?
Let's keep him
I'll
around.
never,
We got room for one more.
I'll never forget. I'm not gonna say who it is because he's a well-known person around here. But I was next to a guy that would not stop talking when this happened, and I remember grabbing him and turning his body towards the stage and say, "Please stop talking. Alana's husband is on stage right now."
You know, so sometimes you got to pick a motherfucker up, you know?
Yeah, to his credit, he turned around and said, "Thank you." And
Yeah.
all he said. So, we don't have to spend too much time on the universe inside because we really do want to dive into the human dream. But as I was kind of taking in the universe inside season as we were preparing for this, I just couldn't get over how many cool moments that you guys got to experience, as a family. I mean, you get to bring in a friend in Maureen, and she gets to be on the album. You get to put your child on a track. What do you think about when you think about that time recording the universe side 10 years later?
That's a great question. You know, that was a really interesting thing because a lot of that music was started before Alana joined the band, right? A lot of that music had been going around and was being worked on for quite some time. And so when we came in, it was a process of trying to um, just trying to just keep it moving, get Alana on there, honor what was being heard and what was written, and how to sonically just like take it up. It was also an interesting time because the universe inside saw a collaboration with the Justice League, right? And the
Yeah.
Justice League produced Get Loud, and that was something where that happened after Alana and I had been doing some work for them, right? So I met those guys back in maybe, I don't know, 2010 or something like that. And they just wanted a bunch of the plugins that I was producing at the time. I was going around to a lot of studios in Atlanta. I was being paid by this company to set up a lot of the top producers, in pop music at the time with their plugins. And that's how I met the Justice League. And from there, they were just really cool and really, coming from a real musical place, which was different than a lot of other successful producers that I was sort of rubbing elbows with who just got lucky, making a hit. They were the real deal. And so we kind of forged a friendship and some collaboration, and that's how Alana got to, be on some Rick Ross tracks.
The Rick Ross
Oh, yeah.
Andre
Was
3000 track.
right.
Yep.
Was because of them. And so they were working on the universe inside, and they were just absolutely crushing it, and just taking everything that the band was doing like really to the next level. And it came to a point where it just kind of felt like it was on this other level, but it wasn't necessarily what it needed to be to really be STS9. Okay. And that's really important here. And so part of that process was, working with them and then deciding that we just had to finish it instead of them for the sake of like keeping it authentic. Let's be
Wow.
like
So
keeping it in line with Hunter's vision, with Zach's vision, with what they were hearing. And that's where I kind of just came in to help bridge that gap
okay.
and help finish it, and help them mix it and get it done and get it mastered from some, just some people that I knew and had a lot of respect for. So that's how I kind of came into TUI. And it was just it was a grind. Like, it was a serious grind, because at the time they weren't in the studio that they're in now. They were in a they were in a Carpet King, this previous business, and it wasn't a treated studio. It wasn't a proper studio. And so we were just really making the best with what we had. And that meant a lot of long nights and sleeping in the studio, and Hunter and I just sleeping in the studio together, putting in 19-hour days to finish that thing. And so that was a really, that was a grind. And it was also just like, it was such an undertaking. We had never, like, me personally and Hunter and the rest of the band, like, we were dealing with such large templates and dealing with massive track counts, and like, we were just going to this new place because they were growing. And it was something that I'm extremely proud of, and just super, blessed to be a part of it. And not too long after the completion of that album, they were told by the landlord, "Hey, you guys got to find another spot." And Jeffrey, he started scrambling and trying to find a new spot. And Jeffrey found us the studio that we're currently in. And
Nice.
it was just this massive fucking super power, like, ultra G move that he pulled, and he got us into a world-class recording studio. After we signed the lease and after we moved in and we took over the studio, we found out it was designed by Bob Hodes, who's one of the leading studio engineers on the planet. That's the same guy that designs Stevie Wonder studio. You know what I mean? Like, it's a real place to work and record music and to get it done properly. And once we moved in there, the quality of work just went through the roof. And
Oh my gosh, perfect thing.
the rest is history. And the way that these guys work, I mean, they're always years ahead of their audience, always.
Oh yeah.
And the back catalog of material that they all collectively have is just immense. And so the songs and the material that you hear on TUI were sort of existing for 5 to 10 years before they came out. And that's exactly the same thing with Human Dream, right?
Yep.
As soon as we were in that studio and we just started, getting into it, that was when the Human Dream was sort of like born and on its way.
Yep. Yeah. We're both Fish fans, right? So we're keen on the 1.0, 2.0, 3.0 eras and everything like that. And there's a little bit of debate as to where those eras are with STS9. And you just kind of gave a little bit of, I guess, like, thought towards what where I feel like 3.0 happened was
Okay, lay it up.
was around 2017, right? Where the drum and bass starts to get in. Then we get into this improv era, right? And it makes sense that that coincides with the space that you're working in, right? You're going from a carpet shop to this world-class studio. And
Yes, sir.
I wanted to provide a sonic example of that and how different this last clip that we'll play here sounds than those first two. And I want everybody to pay very close attention. This is in 2018. Come on, dude.
Yuck. Good God. I mean,
So there's a difference there, right? Between like that 3 year period where it's just like it seems like you guys just have a bunch of new toys to play with or something like that. So is there something to that?
Is there something to that? Okay, so the difference between that and what we previously heard, the other
Yeah.
clips,
Yeah, like
is
the other two. Yeah.
that we're hearing modular there. Okay, we
Okay.
weren't hearing modular from Phipps in the other clips. um, right?
I like
So
that. Yeah. David Clips.
yeah. So and that was also something where in the past when I've sit in, I've kind of like been in the back, maybe sandwiched between Jeffrey and Zach. And if you guys remember, I was like front stage for that.
Mm-hmm.
I had all my shit. And the thing about that I just kind of want to put out there to people, like if you like that and if you fuck with that, you're really fucking with listening, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is a musical conversation that's going on where you are really hearing the chops of people's ears and their ability to listen. And great conversation is not somebody just fucking running their mouth. Great conversation is more about listening than it is about people talking. And so when we hear that just now, that's my takeaway. Like what we just heard is some world-class live electronic music that I would put up there, with anyone creating live electronic music. Like that's some world-class shit. That's some serious listening. That's some serious like patience. Do you know how hard it is to be patient when you're in front of 3,500 people? Like
Oh man, yeah.
that's you know what I mean? And so it takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of like listening, and it's just something that is going on in spades there,
Mhm.
like it's just really happening in that clip. So that was my favorite uh sit in, like of all time. If I had to kind of pick one, that moment really, that was something else. And not too long after that, I believe they did something. Armani came up on stage.
Yep, that was a
Um,
special night.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
next night.
I believe Travis opened up that night.
Hmm.
Machine Drum, I'm a
Yeah,
huge fan of his, and so there was
that
just
run.
like
So
that
good.
shit. That shit was on some other shit. So glad you played that clip. For me, having all of my gear, like I had my MPC connected to my modular, connected to a proper mixer. And so I was able to, just sit in the cut how I wanted to. And yeah, that was a great sit in. Like definitely my favorite.
Yeah, you
Quick.
talk about that patience of before you get into that, Scotty.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember like when you go up to class and you're supposed to give a 3 minute presentation, and it feels like 20 minutes, right? Where like as a band, you want to put together probably a 10 plus modular jam. When you're improving, like those 6 minutes of improv probably feel like 30 minutes, right? With that patience. So
Well,
that's
it's weird because when you're really in it, like when you're really fucking locked in on stage, like time goes away completely, and
okay.
and it
Yeah.
is it is sort of oscillating in both directions where it feels like hours have gone by and it's been 10 seconds, and it feels like you just got up there and holy shit, that was 14 minutes, so it does go both ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that clip because it is really difficult when you have such an accomplished drummer like Zach, who just like he plays it all and he does it all. And then you add Jeffrey to that, where Jeffrey is embellishing on top of what he's doing, to come in and find space and to not have people step on each other's toes, and to know when to let people sort of take it, when to lead. That takes a lot of years, and that takes a lot of time. And the time that we spent together as, you know, as friends and as homies outside of music, that's what you're hearing there, right? You're hearing this next level thing because of that. So that's what I want to say about that clip in that moment.
You're the second guest to talk about the importance of listening and playing with this band. We had Audio Angel on. She said that was the thing that she took away from her sit-ins with SDS9, is just how important it was to just kind of pay attention to where you fit in the landscape. I think that's really cool. That's been kind of a through line. So we didn't say the name of that one. That's Rave Spell. And before we get into Human Dream, is that where the concept of Rave Spell starts?
Well, that's one of those things where I just kind of, you know, like we're sitting back there, and the wave spell, you know, concept was sort of alive, right?
Mhm.
And
Oh yeah, you're in the heat of it right there. Yeah,
right, and that was just something I came up with, right? They're like, "What do you want to call this shit?" And I was like, "Well, how about rave spell?" And it, you know, it really stuck. And was exactly in line with what, like, the ethos and the mindset that you're sort of going into a wave spell. That was exactly the same that we went in with that, but
Sure.
it, you know, with all the electronic instruments, right?
Okay.
Like with the sequences going, not
Cool.
just being like improvised and sort of like that. So
yeah, and then that leads to a little bit over a year later, basically an album drop of an improv show. So that concept really grew legs. But let's get into here now, right? We're in the middle of an epic drop of new music and a new project in the Human Dream. Let's start with your role. What would you say is your official role in the creation of this new album?
I am the engineer. You know, I'm the recording engineer. I'm the mix engineer. On certain tracks, I'm programming drums. You know, ever since TUI, I was and have been a co-producer, and that's what I would say my role is mixing and pretty much doing all the engineering except for mastering. And now something that's, you know, really important to me, like for other musicians and not just with these guys, but like I really try to teach people like everything that I know, you know. I'm not stingy, right? Like I'm a hard ass, but like I'm extremely giving, and I'm always trying to like put people onto shit. And a lot of my mission has been to give these guys a fishing pole.
Mm.
Love
Like
that.
it hasn't been the fish. It's been to give them the fishing pole. It's been to, you know, convince them to buy certain pieces of gear and to get into certain recording best practices so that I don't have to be there to record. And that is like, that's something I'm so proud of. Like knowing that, you know, we're out here in Colorado and they're recording at this higher level, you know, doing overdubs and stuff. I'm so proud of that. Like I can't even tell you. Because that's what you want to see. You know, you want to see a creative force be able to have inspiration. You want to see them, you know, transduce that inspiration, right? Take it from being in the mind and being in the heart and putting that into something tangible that other people can access as well. And that's really what I've done. So, you know, I would say I'm first of all, I mixed all of this album, you know, top to bottom. I've recorded about 80% of it, but the other 20% has been my legacy and my contribution, to this band, where Hunter knows how to fucking power up that studio, and he knows how to tap into this very complicated hardware. Jeffrey knows how to tap into it. And Hunter has always just been one of the most talented and proficient, like digital, right, musicians, like him on Reason, him in Ableton, right, like just godlike. But when you're talking about capturing sounds and capturing tones and all of that, that's been more my forte. And yeah, just having the opportunity to build out their studio, to design it, to say, look, this is the gear we need, top to bottom, this is how we do it, and to have them run with it is yeah, it's been that is the human dream. So
Oh,
you
just took it. You just took my next question.
we Alana and I, we were in the fires in 2019. Right?
I wasn't gonna ask because honestly I wasn't sure where you were with being able to talk about such a traumatic moment, but get into it.
Well, here's the thing about it. Like, I'm just honest, right? Like, I don't fuck around. Okay. And that was an extremely traumatic experience for us. The fires started in Big Basin. We lived north of Santa Cruz. We were about 1.5 miles from where those fires started, and literally, yeah, literally, Alana was out on tour, okay, and there was this just insane lightning storm, the likes of which, like, I've never experienced anything like that before. I mean, lightning just like this, right? For about fucking 5-6 hours, like literally like
Holy
this.
crap.
I mean, I'm not even bullshitting you right now.
That's not common in that area, right?
It's
Like,
not common at all, man. Like,
Mhm.
it's not common anywhere, boys. And I was going outside, and we lived pretty close to the ocean, and you could smell charred seaweed in the air. You could smell
Ooh.
charred salt water. Like, it was fucked up. So the fire started, and they kind of, they were kind of going, but it didn't seem like it was an imminent threat because there were a bunch of streams right between us. Like, there were a bunch of valleys, and everyone was like, there's no way it's jumping over. Well, guess what? It did. And I was outside. Yeah, this is in on Swanton Road in Davenport, and I was outside on my porch, and one of these firefighting planes that was dropping water and dropping retardants, he flew over my house, and I said, okay, that's not good.
No.
And it was interesting though, because while I was looking up at him, and he was obviously thousands of feet away from me, I truly felt like I saw the person. And he doubled back around and he fucking buzzed my house. Okay.
Whoa.
And I thought, well, that's not a coincidence, right? Because he didn't drop anything. And then he did it again. He buzzed my house a third time.
Like,
and so
out of here.
whenever you get those signals in 3, that you need to be aware. And it was at that point in time that I felt like I got my warning. And so we started moving, like, I started moving gear and the wedding dress and the stained glass window from my mom, rest in peace. And, like, all these things that really mattered, I started moving them to the studio. And then it was just something, the fires came through. They destroyed 2 out of the 3 structures, that we had all our shit in. I mean, we lost, $100,000 worth of shit.
Mm.
And you know, the main house that we were in survived, but it was charred, you know, and all
Everything
of
in there is ruined.
everything was ruined. It smelled like you were in a charcoal pit. You know, all of the infrastructure, like the water, like our well was gone, everything, and it was just it was really traumatic, you know. And we just said like, whoa, like
Yeah.
we got to get out of town, like, and it had nothing to do with the band. It was just like we needed to reset. You know,
Yeah.
it was such a heavy thing for my family, and so we went to Taos, and we stayed in Taos for a better part of like 10 months during COVID. And it was at that point in time we had a lot of friends and a lot of people up in Colorado just saying like, yeah, move to Colorado, you know, we got you. And so we did, and it's been absolutely amazing to be out here, you know, and the world works in mysterious ways, and you just kind of go with it and you make the best out of it. And us being out here has enabled us to basically the creative force that is STS9 to now have 2 studios.
There you go.
And so, you know, it's something where we didn't let up, even though we moved from town. And Alana's out there all the time. I'm out there all the time. You know, I'm going out there in another, you know, week and a half just to do some basic, you know, studio maintenance, do some troubleshooting, make sure everything's good for another phase of recording. And so we're still very, you know, connected to that space, even though we're not living there anymore.
Yeah. Well, thank the powers that be that you, Alana, Max, and the dogs made it out safe. You know, at the end of the
Yeah,
day, that's the stuff that's irreplaceable.
that's right.
And you talk about the unquestionable supremacy of nature, man. I mean, that is a wow moment for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, getting into the human dream, you know, and kind of staying on that topic too. Is there a specific song or moment on this record, whether it be so far that we've heard, that you're especially proud of from a mixing or production standpoint?
You know, there isn't anything in particular. There isn't one thing, but it's more just about like pushing the boundaries, right? Pushing the boundaries of like the tempos and the kinds of beats and the kinds of layering. And when I talk about, you know, yeah, talk about our experience. I mean, I listen to Big Bass and it chokes me up every single time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I didn't realize that that was where the fire started. I was trying to find a good way to ask that. Like, wow, that song has taken on a completely different face for me now.
It certainly has for me, brother. And yeah, it's I don't know. There's nothing. There isn't one thing that I'm particularly proud of. I really love like everything about this album. You know, I love the diversity. I love how it is extremely organic in a way that TUI wasn't, and yet it's also very electronic forward in other new ways. And so to me it just encapsulates the, you know, the members in such this powerful way, and the writing is so strong. um you know, I just, yeah, it's something that these songs to me feel like they feel like they go right next to all of the
Yep.
classics
Yes,
that everyone loves, right?
absolutely.
And that's a really important thing for me to kind of point out is like, yeah, it's just it's authentic, it feels right, it sounds right. um you know, it's just live as hell, like it, you know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
You hear a glass next to people's, and you're like, yes.
Yep. Exactly.
So, as talk to us about Shaky Ground and kind of how that specifically came together. Obviously, it's been kind of a topic of conversation in the fan groups. It's the most recent single. What I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to ask here. I just that I said this on the podcast last week, and I guess I just want to see if you can agree with me. The band has lived in this modular world more or less since that rave spell era that we just played. This feels like the truest example of what a live modular jam feels like. Is that something that you would agree was kind of a goal there? Because I don't think studio wise we've ever seen anything like Shaky Ground. And I guess I'm
Okay.
just kind of curious from your perspective, how that all came together.
It's funny you say that because for me, it doesn't feel any different than everything else
Okay.
we've been working on.
Okay.
What it is, it's kind of like they completed everything and they had all these tracks done. And something that Hunter and Zach like are brilliant at is saying, well, okay, great, we have all of this, but what else is needed?
What
Like,
don't we have?
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
don't we have? And to kind of have like this up tempo quote unquote banger, right?
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
was what they saw they needed, and so that's what they created.
Mhm.
I mean, there's nothing that we've heard like it from the album so far. Obviously, you've got a little bit more insight into what is to come still, but I mean, that feels like a completely accurate depiction from a rollout perspective of just something we haven't tasted yet in
Yeah.
studio form.
I
Yeah.
liken it to one of my favorite house music producers, Eric Prydz. He talks about and he has several different monikers he releases music from. He talks about how he approaches creating songs. He's like, "What's missing from my record box?" Right? And that's why they seem so stoked on it, right? Because it's like almost like a discovery of a different kind of fire, right? Like, where it could go so many ways. And I think that we're just seeing the beginning of that
Yeah.
track. Like you said, the band is so far ahead of us where they know where this is going, and anyone who might be growing a little bit impatient with it, just wait. Just wait. Let's see where this goes, right?
Yeah.
But
I
we're
mean,
stoked
when
on it.
when you talk about like people being impatient and when I think about something like that, it's like if the art isn't pushing you and sort of challenging you to grow,
Talk
then
about
it's really some fucking weak shit. And art is
Fuck
no,
yeah.
I mean really though, like art is supposed to level us up. Art is supposed to like bring us up, and the thing about that track when you break it down, like it's it's at a different BPM. Like it's not an up tempo 174 drum and bass track, but it's also not a 130 fucking house track. It's in a different BPM range than what you're used to and what you're sort of realizing and what you're accustomed to. That's a track that speaks to sort of like the beginning of a lot of like quote unquote American dance music, right? Like
Mm,
that track comes from some Bombada samples, right?
Yeah.
mhm.
And they have since replaced all of those samples, right?
Right.
Shout out fucking Armani for coming in and
It's
just
Armani. Okay. I
it
thought
is Armani.
I
That
thought
that
of it.
is the man coming in and just crushing those vocals for us and absolutely leveling those up beyond the original. So yeah, it's just like if if I were to say what it is, it really is an homage to like big beat, early, early rave culture,
Hmm.
like dance music.
How much left of this release is stuff that we haven't heard yet?
There's still a good chunk. Like there are gonna be
Yeah.
some songs you haven't heard. Yeah, for sure.
Fuck yeah. I
Good.
think
Good.
that's what like based on where the sound is and where all the new stuff like the Peach Tree, right? Um Not so much Walk the Sky. We'd heard Walk the Sky, Portal to the Starry Path, right? Like that is that sound where it's like it immediately hits you, right? Like you said, it just fits with that and like basically we're on pins and needles being like, hey, like more of that shit. So to know that more of it is coming is super exciting. And is going to culminate into just this epic release
I
of the
mean,
full thing.
yeah, just to say it, like I'm somebody that can sit down and listen to an hour and a half symphony front to bottom, right? Like, so I can't wait for people to have the whole album because I believe that that's how it needs to be sort of digested, right? Like
Yeah.
people have these short attention spans and you kind of have to accommodate for all these things when you're releasing music. But when the whole thing's out and people can just run it top to bottom and see just what a masterpiece it is. They've outdone themselves.
Yeah, and is the ordering of tracks, is that going to be like something pretty much completely different as to what we've seen as far as the order of the EPs? Because I feel like that's something that's so important with what you talked about. That was one of your
Yes.
favorite records, like Artifact, right? Like one of the reasons that's such a great front to back listen is because of the placement of tracks. So is that something we're going to see too in terms of
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
The programming and the sequence. I mean, nobody does it better than them as far as that goes. So yeah.
Obviously, the one part that we haven't gotten into about kind of the faces that you wear with the band, hats that you wear rather with the band, you take on the heroic mission of making sure that everything that is played live makes it to our ears via Bandcamp. I think this is the thing that you're really underappreciated for, because the amount of time that you
Man, I'm not. I gotta stop you. Like my DMs, like the
okay,
gratitude,
good.
like, yeah, gas me up and remind these motherfuckers what's
Sure,
up.
Keep
sure.
it
But
coming, yeah.
like, but let's be real clear. Like people voice themselves, to me, and yeah, there are those negative little bitches who are going to complain about things,
Hmm.
but they are, the 0.2% out of the 99 from people that are sending me messages. Hey, I'm in the grow today, up in the mountains in fucking California, and I got no reception, but like Bandcamp works, and I'm wearing these boards out, to our harvest right now, or I'm going into work for a fucking 14-hour nursing shift and I'm going to be rocking your shit, or I'm going into surgery, I'm going into this, that, and the other. Like people let me know, and they figured it out obviously over time. Like the real heads know what I do
Right.
and they know how I hold them down, and they hold me down. Like we hold each other
Good.
down.
Good.
And so, like, yeah, people know, and people are very kind to slide into the DMs and drop all the praise. And for me to just sort of talk about what I do, I take a stereo recording, I take a 2-track recording, and I master it, and I just try to make the most out of the quality of that recording. And sometimes that's great, sometimes it's shit. And I'm just trying to make sure that it feels like what it feels like to be at a show, right? That's
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
ultimately what I'm trying to do. And it was something that kind of a while ago, it was a process where putting, the boards they'd play a show and then the boards would come out like days later, weeks
Yeah,
later.
sometimes weeks.
And, you know, there was just a period of time where I was flipping them pretty quick. And the amount of feedback that I got from people saying, like, you know, holy shit,
Yeah.
like to be sort of coming off of the high of last night and you're still raging, you know, off all that dopamine. And then you're getting to listen to that shit the next day before you're going into night two. And you know, the videos that people would send to me of their cruise, and you know, just like people really appreciating it, like that's what kind of changed my workflow and the order of operations and the
Nice.
importance of just flipping it quick, right? And once we started doing that, we also saw the number of subscribers like go up like a lot, and that was reflected. You know, people know how serious we take our band camp. People know
Yeah.
that to the best of their like our abilities, we're going to get those things turned around in, you know, the next day, if not a handful of days at the latest.
Yep.
So
I,
that's
I I remember the drip days where it was like you're literally waiting for the drip. Like it was like a faucet that was gonna drip, and now it's like that river's flowing through Bandcamp. So
It made my story of a quick soundboard turnaround with the first shows back in 2021 at Red Rocks. I'll never forget. We do that first night, the Enter Sky World, the Breathe In, the Better Day, all that. And then next night we get through that show and we get on the bus and somebody throws on Enter Sky World from the night before. And we're on a party bus. Vibes are high. And by the time we get to that Enter Sky World, I look around and half our bus is in tears, just reliving that moment all over again. Nate was on that bus, and I remember thinking how special it was that, you know, not only that we were able to listen to it, but listen to it together in such like a, you know, such a fresh moment where we're still kind
it's
of appreciating
important.
everything that's happened. Yeah, no,
It's really important. You know, a lot of the magic of STS9 is community and is of shared listening, right? And I know that, the band knows that, and so yeah, like I'm cooking those boards up like the best I can. You know, sometimes I'm waiting for the files because there's no internet. You know, sometimes yeah, there's all kinds of variables that go on with this thing. But I'm always trying my best to just like serve the music, take the recordings from, you know, what they are to something that's like really enjoyable.
I guess you kind of answered
Yeah.
the next question. I was going to say, what makes a show especially fun or especially difficult to mix? But it sounds like you just kind of try to go in with the same perspective on every show. Does that feel
Yeah,
accurate?
it is. It's like you listen through it real time. I'm running it through my hardware. I'm running it through gear that they don't get to carry, you know, with them out on the road. And I'm leveling it up. And as I'm doing that, I'm just assessing it for like if there are pops or if there are weird, you know, just weird things that are coming from the stage that I have to find a way to mitigate. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
So
because sometimes it'll come through harder on the car speakers than it actually did in the venue. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, do you ever go back and listen to a show later and wish you'd done something differently?
Um, Not really, you know, because I stand on what I do and I know that my process when I'm doing it the first time is no bullshit. I'm never trying to like cut a corner. You know, I'm always trying to just like do the best that I possibly can. And there are times when I have certainly wished that I've been handed over a better recording. But that's really like, you know, yeah,
Control what you can control, right?
control what you can control. And I just like, you know, my whole engineering thing is really about like capturing and preserving and not changing what's there, right? Like that's really what I'm trying to do is just capture this shit to the fullest and not change it. And I've been around STS9 for such a long time that like I don't get to say what it should sound like, but like I know what it should sound like. And so I try to do my best to just present that, like knowing what these guys actually sound like knowing what they sound like when they're pulling up in the studio and they're playing and just trying to present that the best way possible.
Thank you so much for tonight, man. I think that's all we've got. I guess I got one more. Is there anything that you wish we had hit on that we hadn't? That we didn't.
Not really. I mean, I have no uh I have no preconceived notions of how this should go and what your curiosities are or aren't. Just try to provide as much information as possible.
Well,
Fuck yeah.
We are so grateful to you for doing this. Thank you so much for bearing with us and doing this on honestly the eve of Boulder. I mean, we couldn't have backed up any closer to it, and I'm sure you have stuff to prepare right now that you're putting off to be with us. So, thank you so much for your time. I did want to tell a nice story about you. You've communicated a couple times throughout these 2 hours that you're kind of a hard ass, and you use the word a music snob, and maybe that's what you give off to some people. But only one person brought my pregnant wife, bananas and water bottles every single night at Mish when she was 7 months pregnant, and you didn't have to do that. And I don't know if I've ever got a chance to really thank you for that, but that was very special. And in a time where I know you know what it's like to have a pregnant wife, I mean, you're just trying to make sure that she's okay at any given point. And that was something that you did for us at the Mission 2023, and it was just really beautiful. And I wanted to shout you out on a public forum for doing that. So thank you for that too.
Man, you're welcome, man. It's one of those things where the music lives if it gets passed from generation to generation.
Yep.
All right. And if there is a message that I've wanted to convey through this interview, it's my desire to help propel and keep that music going and to spread it as far and wide. And I have a lot of respect for the parents bringing their kids out. I have a lot of respect for those pregnant women who want to throw up and they're out there at the fucking shows, that is life, that is creation, right? And like that's really what I'm about, that's what STS9 is about. And so fuck yeah, if I can do something good for somebody, like if I can go backstage and take some bananas over to some woman that I know needs some sugars and some potassium, like guess what? Like you don't have to ask. Like that's who I am, and it's something I bring a tremendous amount of heart to this thing.
Yes.
I bring a tremendous amount of like strength. And when I talk about being a music snob and being a hard ass, it's because like I have to protect my heart. I have to protect my energy and what I have because, people try it, people test it, people want more than what they think they should get, and so I try to be as hands-on and as hands-off as possible. And so I pick my moments, and one of the things is just like having a read on people and understanding the human condition and yeah, like I do something like that changes, like it's just a simple gesture, but those simple gestures and those acts of kindness, we need more of that in our community.
Yes. It meant everything in the world. I think about it.
I need more motherfuckers like stepping up, bringing good vibes. I need less fucking me. I need more, more of that old school spirit that like is just needed in this world right now. So that's how I move. That's how I conduct myself. And, you know, I'm really proud of things like that.
Good.
You know?
Good. Well, it does make a difference, and thank
It
you.
makes a difference, man.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference.
Brad, thank you so much for stepping in the limelight for a second. This is a conversation I think a lot of people have been waiting for and wanting, and I think that a lot of people will learn a lot from. I know that me and Scotty have learned a lot from it, me myself for sure. And just appreciate perspective, man, and everything you do, from handing out a banana to mixing soundboards the next day to helping unleash this insane project that we're all witnessing in 2025 for STS9. So have a great weekend, my man, in Boulder. It's always awesome when we get to see you out at shows. And just thanks so much for joining us, man. Really appreciate
Yeah,
you.
thank you guys as well. Like I said, we really appreciate what you guys do. Like I really, I love what you guys do. You know, it's not about a paycheck. It's about giving back to something that has given to you. And that's what you guys do. You guys show up, you guys make your sacrifices, and you know, you guys are running this thing like you know, you've got big sponsors and the whole bit. And I know you don't. So keep doing what you do, and just, you know, spread positivity and spread good energy, you know, and fucking stand on it. And if you have to fight for that sometimes, then fight for it. But just really, like, keep doing what you guys do, because you remind me of myself at your age, right? Like, you guys remind me of like a lot of my homies and a lot of my friends at your age. And so I fuck with you guys like 1,000%.
Well, thank you, man.
My man, dude. Yeah.
All right. Song predictions?
Yeah, let's get into it. Well, before we get into that, right, I think we need to acknowledge how cool it is. Okay, like there's still a chance if you don't have tickets to get tickets on Sunday. Hell, Sunday might be sold out by the time that this gets released, right? So if you're not going to Sunday, hop on it. Like Brad mentioned, the arc of these shows from start to finish, from set one in Boulder to, I'm sure, the encore on Sunday night at Dillon Amphitheater is going to be something you want to witness in all three nights. So that's what's available. So if you haven't yet, hop on it. Let's sell out all three of these nights and make this a weekend to remember. But yes, song predictions. All right, Scotty. Ceremonial.
Oh yeah, flip it.
Zen can flip. Coolment 6. Tails. Hold it in the air.
Zen. The
I
rough
win.
streak. Haven't gotten heads in a while.
All right. Since we talked to the MIDI mobster himself, I'm gonna go with mobsters.
Okay. I'm gonna shoot for the moon here. He said about Boulder and the opening song at Boulder feels like it's gonna be a very, very significant bust out of some type. So I'm gonna shoot for the moon and say we get another quest up in Boulder.
What?
Why not? He said.
All right, I will literally kill you.
He said, and I quote, "All the heads are gonna know what time it is as soon as the first song is played." So to me, that is screaming bust out of some type. So fuck it. Let's see what happens.
All right, fuck it, bosso.
There we go. Bust out versus bust out. I respect that. We're getting an Inspire this weekend.
Yeah, you are. That's a good one.
I'm getting an Inspire this weekend. You're getting it on the stream.
I'm getting it. I'll get it, boy. Don't worry about it. Hey, and also, I think I'm going to ARC on Saturday. So do not text. I want to come home
and watch it
and know nothing.
Cool. I won't take it.
All right. So I'm plugging there. Thank you. Fuck.
Tell that to
Oh yeah. Hey, dude, you guys, Be Nice is happening.
Yeah.
That could be what that first song is too. Honestly, it could mean the same thing, because if you're ahead and they open with Be Nice, you know that they open a 3-night run with a Be Nice. Yeah. Hold on to your hats. So
in the same vein as my Inspire, but also kind of in the same vein of what you're saying, let's go Moonsocket. I think Moonsocket could be that same kind of tone setting.
A la Red Rocks 2015, little modular intro. All right. Well, folks, we're on the precipice of what is going to be an epic 3 nights. If you're still traveling, everyone's going to be traveling to these shows. These shows are kind of out and about in the Denver area. Have your rides to the shows and to and from Boulder, especially. I think the Buffs play on Friday night
Yes, they do.
in Boulder.
Yep, good check.
So have that figured out. Have a wow, Atlanta's in the house in two different
Man's in the
places in
building,
Boulder.
motherfucker.
Yeah, they are. Jackets and STS9. Let's go. Be safe. There's a lot of places you got to get to and from this weekend, and like we
Windy
talked,
mountain roads, drive
Yep.
safe, all that.
have a designated driver. Travel safe. Enjoy the shows. Say what's up to Scotty for me. I'll be there in spirit. But guys, thanks for watching and listening. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Music or Spotify, throw us a like, throw us a subscribe, throw us a comment or review if you're feeling nice. Other than that, much love.